If you're not where you want to be financially, that's the time to continue to reduce your expenses. Because as we reduce our expenses, it lifts the burden of debt off of us. So if you have credit cards, car notes, student loans, parent plus loans, different things of that nature that are over your head, if you reduce those, there's a freedom that comes along with that. There's also another biblical principle that's in Proverbs. Um, don't quote me on where it is. I think it's 22:7. And it says that the rich are over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. So, what does that mean for you? If you owe anybody any money, when you go out to work, you work for them. So, if you have a mortgage, you're working for the bank. If you have a car note, you're working for the bank of the wherever the car note is from. Student loan, same thing. Credit card, same thing. If you owe a family member, same thing. And there's nothing worse knowing that you have to go to work. You have to go to work to pay this person back or to pay these people back. Hey, family. This is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, this is episode 168. 168 weeks of consistency, 168 weeks of getting it done. We out in these podcast streets. Guys, we just finished up a speaking engagement with my brothers, my frat brothers, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. It was amazing, man. There was a lot of questions asked and a lot of questions answered. And again, always super grateful for the opportunity to speak to any audience, large or small, because again, this message of financial literacy is needed in our community, and hope needs to be given that it's not too late for you and you can start wherever you are, but we have to start. And so there was a lot of information given, and I'm just super grateful, man. This week was really good as well. Made some money in the market and finding different ways to make money, make more money. So when it's time for me to sit back and be comfortable and relax, we can definitely do that. And you are getting the game on this podcast of how you can do the same thing. It's not just for me. I'm not hoarding information. You won't get it too. So if you are a first time listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's, because we are 1,000,000% on the way to the M's. And you may say, Che Willis, what are the M's? The M's are millions, millions in assets. But more importantly, how are we going to get there? We're going to get there by reducing our expenses. We're going to take that pile of cash from reducing our expenses. We're going to march that money out into the marketplace, and we're going to make us some money babies. We all love money babies. Money babies are the monies that just continue to make money on top of money on top of money. And all you have to do is just get the machine rolling, and it will just continue to make money for you, man. So that's what we're doing. And so this week, and matter of fact, let me relax. Before I get started, the last few weeks we've been talking about millionaires, what they do, how they move, millionaire mindsets, how millionaires take care of their children, and not just giving them money, not leaving them money, but actually giving them information. So when they get the inheritance, then they're not just going to blow the money, but they know what to do with it. Last week we talked about the budget and why it was important, and getting over the fear of the word. Call it whatever you want. Just get it done. So if you're not currently budgeting your money, you're not currently telling your money where to go, and reducing those expenses with the use of the budget, so then you can have more money to make you more money, then I would start. If you are new to this podcast, we have free information on my website, wealthisajourney.com. There's free how to's on how to set up a budget, how to make the budget work for you. There's also one on one coaching if you need that. And we also have a community where we meet once a month on Zoom. We talk about financial wins, areas of opportunity, and strategies to get you to the M's. So there is a bunch of different things for you. If you are struggling right now, um, it's okay, but don't stay where you are. So this week, we're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to talk about how the Bible made me wealthy. And I'm still on the journey, right? And so first I wanted, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to my mom, Barbara Mills. From a young child, she always told me when I was working. I started working when I was 8 years old. I was one of them young guys who always wanted money because um we didn't have a lot. And so I knew that I didn't want to be asking my parents for a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, I want to go get it for myself. So I used to sweep up hair in a barber shop. And she was always telling me, hey, make sure you tithe your money. Make sure you tithe your money. If you don't know what a tithe is, for those who are not, go to church or in the Bible or whatever the case may be, um, it's basically a tenth of what you make. You give it back to God or your church, right? Your local church. And so it's always been ingrained in me to tithe my money. Now, what God says in the Bible is if you give to me, I'm going to give back to you. And so I've always adopted the principle, and there's so many different principles in the Bible that I believe can make you wealthy as well. And if you're paying attention, then if you adopt these principles, you will be wealthy. So, uh, sowing, like when you're giving, you're sowing, right? And there's a law, a principle of sowing and reaping. So whatever you sow, that's what you have the expectation for to reap. So if you are at least doing that, then you are in good shape. Now, where a lot of people go wrong is when they're on their financial journey, they pray for money for a bill or for their kids' college, or they're praying for some type of financial blessing. I love how God works because he'll either do it one or two ways. He'll either give it to you through somebody, or he'll give you a plan on how to get the money or the financial blessing that you're looking for. But if you're not paying attention, you'll only think it's going to come one way. And I talked about it in a few podcast episodes ago, maybe a couple months ago, where I used to pray for money when I was younger. I want to be wealthy. I want to be wealthy because we didn't have a lot of money. And I went to school at Lower Marion High School, and I used to see a lot of the kids. They had money, their parents had money, and that's what I wanted. But as I was growing up, God gave me a plan. He gave me a work ethic to get the money, but then he also gave me a plan for when I got the money, what to do with it, to make it stretch and make it grow. So when I was praying, I thought that the money was going to just come from the sky or from somewhere. Um, but he gave me a plan along with discipline and hard work. So if you're praying for financial blessings and you're doing the things that he's saying in the word, then I believe that you have a right to financial blessing. Now, when we get the financial blessing and we have it in excess of what we asked for, let's just say the bill was $1,000 and we got blessed with $1,500. The extra $500 is not the time for us to go to the mall and blow the additional monies that we got over and above what we asked for. And I think that's where a lot of us get into trouble. We pray for things, We get the things that we ask for, and then we blow the money. And then we're in the same routine of asking for it again because we didn't steward the money that we got in the first place. And now we're asking for more money again. And then if you don't get it the way that you got it the last time, then that's when you'll get into the thought process being ungrateful. And then you'll say, well, oh, it doesn't work for me. Praying doesn't work for me, or God doesn't work for me, when that's not the truth. You're not working for you. So if we are sowing uh the right seeds, I believe we will never go hungry. However, if you are getting seeds in and you're eating your seed, you can't say that it doesn't work. And I think that that's what's happening a lot of times. We're eating our seed and we shouldn't be. So, uh, so for me, it started with my mom, and it started with her telling me to, um, hey, make sure that you give your tithes to the local church. And I always had money. Now I didn't have an abundance of money, but I always had money. But it doesn't stop there. Every time we were on this podcast, we talk about we have to start where we are, because where we are is not where we're going to stay. So it started for me as me making, $5, $10 a week in the barbershop. I tithe my money. And then later on down the line, I get a job. I tithe my money. And then I get another job, a bigger job, more money. So when we get more money, if this is you, if this happens for you and you're getting a financial increase, again, it's not the time to go live your best life. If you are not where you want to be financially, if you're not where you want to be financially, that's the time to continue to reduce your expenses. Because as we reduce our expenses, it lifts the burden of debt off of us. So if you have credit cards, car notes, student loans, parent plus loans, different things of that nature that are over your head, if you reduce those, there's a freedom that comes along with that. There's also another biblical principle that's in Proverbs. Um, don't quote me on where it is. I think it's 22:7. And it says that the rich are over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. So, what does that mean for you? If you owe anybody any money, when you go out to work, you work for them. So, if you have a mortgage, you're working for the bank. If you have a car note, you're working for the bank of the wherever the car note is from. Student loan, same thing. Credit card, same thing. If you owe a family member, same thing. And there's nothing worse knowing that you have to go to work. You have to go to work to pay this person back or to pay these people back. There's a freedom that comes along with not owing anybody anything. So if you are not where you want to be financially, what I would encourage you to do is to look and see and recognize when you get finances in, what is your first instinct to do? And if your first instinct is to go blow the money or go do something that you couldn't otherwise do when you were younger because you didn't have the money, understand that, recognize it, and pause before you actually go spend the money. And think to yourself, is this going to get me further away, or is it going to get me closer to where I want to be financially? And if it's not, then you know what you need to do. A lot of times we cry about, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't, but we know like, if we're being honest, we know what to do. We just got to do it. And so back to when I was working, worked at little menial jobs. I was getting a little bit of money here and there, and I would save my money, but really didn't have a plan on what I was doing with it. I was just save money because I was a saver. And so later on down the line, I continue to tithe my money. So if I'm giving to God, then God is giving to me. He gave me more money and he gave me a plan on what to do with the money that I was blessed with so then I can make that money make me more money. And that's why I'm on this podcast talking to you about it, because this is what worked for me. And I'm telling you, I'm not telling you by theory. I'm not telling you out of a book I read. I'm telling you that this is a fact, that this is what is making me and my family wealthy right now. So it just doesn't stop there. Now I'm getting ideas um, of different things to invest in to make it easier and faster for me to hit the goal and the destination of where I want to be financially. And it doesn't just stop there. When money from different endeavors that we have coming in, that money goes right back out into the marketplace to make more money. So it doesn't stop, because I'm not where I want to be yet. And we are not where we want to be yet. So where you are currently is not where you're going to stay. So if you're not making a lot of money, what are you doing with the money that you have? If you are a believer in God and you're not adopting this principle of your tithe, then I would encourage you to get to your local church um, and start doing it. Now, if you don't, if the church that you're going to currently is not doing the right things with the money, then that's between you and your pastor. I understand if that's the case. Maybe that's not the church for you. I don't know, but my church, I can see exactly what's going on. Very transparent, and they're giving back to the community based on the tithes that come through the church. So I'm saying all this to say that um, if you're doing your part, God will do his part. But then once he does his part, it's time for you to further do more of your part by paying things down, making money, make money. Because again, um, you are a slave, and we were once slaves to whoever we were borrowing money from. And that's no fun. So we have decisions to make. And a lot of our decisions can either lead us out of where we were coming from or lead us back to where we just came from. And that's going to be up to you. So if you're not happy with where you are you doing the right things with the money that you have coming in? And if you're not, let's fix it. Because being on this side of debt freedom, being on this side of recognizing that God is helping me to and my family to live the life that he's talking about in the Bible, meaning a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, the borrower slave to the lender, give and it will come back to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, like all these different principles. Like, these are principles that's in there for us. We just have to execute on the principles and then watch him do what he does. So um I'm saying all this to say that um let's not overcomplicate things as believers, that God will make a way for you to get to where you want to be, but when he does, let's not blow the money. And a lot of times that's what's happening, because as I'm going on my journey, it started with real estate. First of all, it started with debt reduction so that I could buy the real estate, or we could buy the real estate. And then it came to reducing the debt for the real estate, paying it off. And then it came to, okay, well, instead of putting the money in the bank, let's put that money to work in the market. And then it came to take some money of the earnings in the market and then flip it with options. And then it came to flipping money with put selling, and then selling calls, selling cover calls. So it doesn't just stop. It just doesn't stop with you saving the money or you paying down your debt. Like, God is going to give you different ideas on how to make the money continue to flip, but you have to do your part. So I need you now to recognize when you get a financial blessing in, what you're doing with the money and the different ideas that come to you as a result of you doing the right thing with the money, because he will give you ideas. It may not come the way it came to me, but just understand that the way you can receive more money, the idea will come to you. It may come to you by rendering service to somebody, and they pay you handsomely for whatever service you're rendering to them. So there's many different ideas, there's many different ways that God can bring money to you, but once he does, what are we doing with it? And all the while, every piece of income that comes to me, whether it's in the stock market, in real estate, my 9 to 5 job, or any other endeavor that I have, tithe goes back out to the church. You may not agree with it, but I'm doing okay. And ideas are still coming to me to get more. So I'm going to encourage you as a believer to take God at his word and start executing on those things. And it may not take as long as you think. I tell believers all the time, like, uh, when we paid our house off, we started off before we started, or when we started paying the house down, a few years in of us paying the house down, God had money set off to the side that we had no idea about. And that helped us to execute paying this house off years faster than we anticipated. So I'm saying that to say that we don't have to do all of the heavy lifting. If we're doing what we're supposed to do, he will do what he's supposed to do, and we will all get to where we want to be. And then we'll be able to tell other people about how he did it for us. So then they can come into the fold as well. See how that works? So uh didn't want this to be a churchy, preachy message, but I think it needs to be talked about, especially for those who of us who are believers who may be struggling financially, because there's a lot of us out there struggling financially for one reason or another. But if we're making the right choices, and we're taking God at his word of what he says regarding finances, I believe that if we do that, then we'll be in much better shape financially. And I'm living proof. So let's get to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.